All right. You're thinking about moving to Austin, Texas, or the Texas Hill Country, somewhere right around Austin, really anywhere in that middle part of this giant state. And you've got no idea where to start. You don't know where to start looking. You don't know anything about the area. You found the right channel and you found the right video. In this video, I'm going to pull up a map of Austin. Actually, I'm going to start with Texas. Zoom in, kind of show you a bunch of different stuff, show you the layout, show you where the airport is, where the things to do are. This video is going to be a little bit of a continuation of the last video I did where I talked about Austin, an introduction, and showed you 3 houses and specific price points. I'm going to talk about those locations as well. And I'm really just going to dive into what Austin is from a map perspective. And this is coming from somebody who's lived in Austin since '99 and whose wife grew up in Austin. So if you're looking knows Austin like the back of their hand and wanting to get to know it better yourself, you have found the right spot. Guys, I am Chris Peshek. I'm a broker associate at Peshek Properties here in Austin, Texas, USA. And this is what I do on this video. So if this is on this channel, if this is the first time you have come across my channel, you're going to want to make sure to subscribe, click that little notification icon so that you're going to get information as soon as I put these videos out, because I bring you a ton of content. I'm bringing you new content every week, and it all revolves around Austin and the little bitty towns that surround Austin in this really fast growing area. And here's the best part of this. Here at the Dripping Springs Home Team and Peshek Properties, we get calls from people like you every single day that they're just looking for help in moving to Central Texas, somewhere in the Hill Country, somewhere around Austin. And we absolutely love helping you. So whether you're thinking about moving here in 9 days, 90 days, 9 months, it doesn't matter. Give us a call, shoot us a text, shoot us an email, or my personal favorite, go down into the comments below, find my Calendly link, and set up a 15-minute conversation with somebody on our team. It'll be a Zoom link. We'll get face-to-face, and we'll be able to talk with you, figure out what you're trying to do, where you're trying to move, when you're trying to move, and how we can best help make your move to Central Texas absolutely as smooth as possible. So let's get started with this map video right now. I'm going to share my screen. All right, guys. So this is Texas. You've seen it on maps. You kind of have a general idea of where it is. But let's talk about Austin and what we're looking at here in Central Texas. So Austin, right here, kind of this would be perfectly Central Texas. So Austin's a little bit southeast of dead Central Texas. And you can tell there is a huge triangle between Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. Okay. And Austin is right in that triangle. Guys, when you look at Texas, this is where the vast majority of growth is going on right now. A couple other things in Texas. You've got El Paso out over here in West Texas. El Paso is growing really fast as well. And you got Lubbock and Abilene up here in the Panhandle. But the vast majority of our growth is happening right here, and to a lesser extent down along the coast. Galveston and Corpus Christi are some things that are starting to pop off a little bit too, due to some they're building some new refineries and things like that. So there's a lot of growth going on in those areas as well. But we are, again, zooming in on this area right here in Central Texas. I'm going to take us in a little bit closer and talk a little bit about some topography and other things like that. So sometimes, and I'll definitely mention it, but you'll hear people talk about the hill country and Central Texas being the hill country. Well, I-35 is the interstate that runs from San Antonio through Austin, all the way north, up through Waco, and all the way to Dallas. So an interesting thing about I-35 is along this route right here, this is where the hill country starts. So the hill country goes this direction. Out on this side of I-35, this is traditionally and historically more farmland. It's more sand and clays and soils that you can plant crops in and things like that. This is where a lot of the corn and cotton were planted back in the day. But the hill country is on the west side of I-35. I'm going to get a little bit geological on you here for a second. I-35 is built along an ancient fault line. Okay. And so what happened is at some point back in history, the land back out here saw an upheaval, kind of like what you would, the Rocky Mountains and how they were formed and stuff like that. And that upheaval formed the Texas Hill Country, which is kind of this area right in through here. And now that fault line, when you get into Austin, kind of turns and goes up 183. So this area out over here is what's known as the Texas Hill Country. Okay, obviously all of this in here is Central Texas, but when people talk about the hill country and the hills and where you get big rolling views and things like that, that's this area out over here on the west side of Austin. And then as you zoom in a little bit more in Austin proper, you can tell that the lake, this is the Colorado River coming down through here, but the lake and all that, this side of town, Austin, is generally where values have been higher. That's changed a lot lately, especially when you look in this area of East Austin, right here east of downtown along the east side of 35. This area is becoming really, really popular, especially with younger folks. But that area is growing really quickly and the values are going up very quickly as well. But again, historically, Westlake Hills and more recently, Lakeway, Spicewood, Dripping Springs. These are the areas where the values have been higher, and especially over the last 10 to 15 years with Lakeway, that's come on recently, and Dripping Springs has come on recently as well. But in the last probably 5 years, that's when this area of East Austin right here has become super popular. So let's talk a little bit about Austin, the outlying areas, and let you know where some of these major suburbs are. And I'll start kind of down here on the south, and I'll just work up around, let's go clockwise motion around Austin. So two suburbs that are growing really, really quickly right now are on the south side. San Marcos is on I-35, just south of Austin, probably about 35 minutes from downtown, not counting traffic. And then you've also got Lockhart, which if you know anything about Texas barbecue, Lockhart is a little bit of kind of a legendary town, and it's a really small town, but it's growing very quickly now as well. And Lockhart is on 130, which is the toll road that starts down here, and I'll actually zoom down a little bit more. 130 starts down here in Seguin, which is technically a suburb of San Antonio, but 130 starts down here in Seguin and then continues all the way up around the east side of Austin over to Georgetown. So that is a toll road, two-lane toll road. I think the speed limit on it is 85. So that is a really quick way to get around town. So let's zoom back in here a little bit. You've got Austin, you've got San Marcos here on this south side. As we go over Canyon Lake and Spring Branch, this is an area that's growing very quickly as well. Canyon Lake's a beautiful lake out here just southwest of Austin, boating, fishing, all kinds of stuff like that. And it's along the Guadalupe River. So if you've ever heard of tubing on the Guadalupe, this is the area where a lot of people tube in the summer. And if you don't know about tubing, we can talk about that at another time. But on this side, you've got 281 coming up north out of San Antonio. And so going back to when I started the video, I had mentioned this triangle around Texas from Dallas to San Antonio to Houston, and that's where the majority of the growth is happening. So historically, and this isn't just in Texas, but in just about anywhere, when we're talking about growth, it's going to happen along major road corridors. So that's the reason I talk a lot about I-35. Again, going from San Antonio up to Dallas. 281 is a road coming out of San Antonio going up the west side of Austin. I-10 goes from San Antonio to Houston, and I just mentioned 130 and 183 coming up around that east side of Austin. The reason I mention that now when I'm talking about these towns, because I'm really talking about where the growth is occurring. And so when you talk about Spring Branch and Blanco, San Antonio is growing very quickly up 281 towards Johnson City. Okay. And then you've got, I already mentioned here on the south side, you've got San Marcos. I-35 is growing very quickly down to San Marcos and then down further into New Braunfels, growing very quickly along 130 down to Lockhart, and to a little bit lesser extent, Luling down here to the south as well. But then over on this west side, you've got the other major road, 290, heading out to 281. Now, a lot of growth. Spring Branch, you've got Blanco out here starting to grow very quickly. Dripping Springs, where I personally live, growing very, very quickly with a high price point out here. Johnson City, and then as you go out 281 out of Johnson City, you're going to find Fredericksburg out there, which is kind of a weekend getaway type place. And people are starting to buy kind of weekend properties out there. That's known as the Napa Valley of Texas. I would not personally say that it's Napa Valley quality wine just yet, but I'm just telling you that's what it's known as. So that's where Fredericksburg is out there. And as you roll up around the west side of Austin, you're going to find more communities like Bee Cave starting to get very popular, Lakeway. Lago Vista is a little bit of a hidden gem. It's just a little bit tougher to get to on that west side of Austin. And as you continue to go north, you've got Cedar Park, Leander, Georgetown, Round Rock, Liberty Hill. Guys, this area up here is absolutely exploding right now. At this point, we've got new home communities that are being built in Jarrell. And Jarrell has been just a wide spot in the road on I-35 for a long time. But now you've got new home communities all over the place in Jarrell. So, new homes are available in Liberty Hill. Leander is almost built out from a new home perspective. Georgetown's got a lot of new growth going on in it. And then coming down this side over here, the major players on this side right now are Taylor. If you've heard of Samsung, that little company, the new Samsung factory is going in right on the south side of Taylor. Hutto is growing very, very quickly. And again, you've got 130. This is that bypass going to the north, and you've got 79. So again, we've got growth happening along these major road corridors. So 130 all the way up to north of Georgetown, and then 79 going out. That's where we've got a lot of major growth going on. Things to do if you're a baseball fan, we've got the Round Rock Express. They've got their baseball field. It's a AAA affiliate, is right there on the north side between Hutto and Taylor. So there's other things to do out there. And then we're going to continue down this east side of Austin. And again, it's kind of a broken record at this point, but I'm saying, where all the major growth is happening. Manor, major growth happening in Manor and all the way out to Elgin at this point. And they just built another toll out to Manor from I-35. So this, I believe, is a 3-lane in each direction major road going out to Manor. So it's making life a lot easier for people that are commuting into Austin from that area. That's why it's growing so quickly. And then that brings us down to this east side of Austin. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit for this because I want to talk specifically about a couple of things that are going on over here. Okay, so just in terms of getting around, this is where the Austin International Airport is, right off 71 on the south side of Austin. Very easy to commute to downtown from the airport and pretty easy to get to overall from just about anywhere. Now, another major hiring and business went in out here. So you see Del Valley, this is 130. So right here is where Tesla is building their new facility, this gigafactory. It's huge. It's already open. It's producing cars. It's going to be producing trucks, and it's also going to be producing batteries. Now, that's where Tesla went in. And so what you're seeing is a lot of growth along 21 and also 71. They come together right here in Bastrop. Bastrop is growing leaps and bounds, and it's because of not only Tesla, but anytime a major manufacturer like Tesla comes in, and on the north side, you're going to see the same thing with Samsung when they get going. But there's a lot of smaller businesses who are moving in all along these corridors here, trying to be close to Tesla because they're producing technology equipment that they're trying to sell to companies like Tesla. So you're seeing a lot of growth along Bastrop, and they're currently expanding the roads from the airport out to Bastrop. And once those roads get fixed, you're going to see even more growth out towards this area. Now, the other interesting thing that's happening is a lot of people sometimes want to get out in front of progress, and they're like, hey, where are the places that I need to move to get a good deal on a house that is going to grow up to me? Okay, the first one I mentioned a while ago was Jarrell. Again, anything along I-35 and along 71, 290, these major roads is going to be good. But even out beyond Bastrop, if you're looking for a small town with a little slower pace of life right now that is going to end up blowing up, guys, it's Smithville. It's a quaint little town. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Hope Floats, but they filmed a lot of that movie out here in Smithville. It is growing very, very quickly. Right now, you can find a lot of Victorian style houses in downtown Smithville. They're not being sold as much anymore because people have already found them. They've bought them, they've renovated them, and it's beautiful out there. But we're now starting to see some additional subdivisions start to go in out in Smithville. So that's where the major growth is happening right now. Just in terms of Central Texas in general. So I'm going to zoom back out one more time, give you an idea of what I just looked at, and I'm going to kind of make the round one more time. Okay, on the south side here, you've got San Marcos, Dripping Springs, Blanco, Johnson City, Bulverde, and Spring Branch are growing from two perspectives. One, because San Antonio is growing north, and two, because Austin is growing west along those corridors. Okay. And then as we keep going up, Lakeway, Leander, Lago Vista is right in here. I'd mentioned that. Cedar Park, Liberty Hill, Jarrell, Taylor, Hutto. Remember, Taylor is where Samsung is. And then coming down, Pflugerville, Elgin, Manor, and then down Del Valle, which is where Tesla is. And also in between Del Valle and Bastrop, somewhere out here, SpaceX bought additional land. I don't know where it is, but it's here along the river somewhere. And then also Smithville out here, and then Lockhart and Luling. So just in terms of the outlying areas that are going to continue to grow, these are ones to keep an eye on, and a little bit of an idea for you again with Samsung and SpaceX and Tesla as to why they're growing. Okay, now next thing I want to do is zoom in a little bit, and let's talk about Austin in general and some things that I've told you on different videos, things that you're going to want to know about Austin in general. So the last video, and if you didn't catch it, guys, it was about an introduction to Austin, and I introduced you to a couple of my favorite places, and then I showed you a couple of housing areas that you might be interested in. So let's jump into that. First of all, I opened that video in a little place down here in central Austin called Sandy's Ice Cream, and it's right there. I'll zoom in on this so you get a better idea of where it is. Now, when you look at downtown Austin, you've got the river that runs through, you've got downtown areas on the north side of the river, and then you've got Auditorium Shores. If you've heard of the hike and bike trail around downtown, it's right here. It goes all along the river down over here into East Austin and then back. A lot of hiking and biking down there. And Sandy's Ice Cream is this little spot right here. It's been around, I think, since the 40s. Just a great place to go grab some ice cream, a good old style burger and stuff like that. You've heard of Terry Black's Barbecue potentially. Franklin's Barbecue is over here in East Austin. This is the capital. This is the downtown area of Austin right here. Okay. This is 6th Street Entertainment District, and then you've got the Rainy District right over here if you're wanting to get out and kind of get out to some bars, things to do. Those are the big entertainment areas. This area over here is West 6th Street. Again, a lot of stuff to do down along there. If you're visiting, a lot of people that live here don't necessarily spend too much time in downtown, but if you're visiting and taking a look at things, that's kind of the areas that people tend to hang out in Austin. So, I had also mentioned a couple of housing areas. Now, the first one that I took a look at was a subdivision in Southwest Austin called Circle C. So Circle C in general is a big subdivision. Okay, it's kind of this whole area right through here. Now, where I was Avanya, which is a newer area right here on the side of Mopac. And going to 45, but Avanya is right in this area. And again, that area is all within about 25 minutes of downtown, a normal commute. And then also within about 25 minutes of the airport, which is just right over here. Okay, so that was the first house I showed you. Now I'm going to pop into the second area that I showed you, which was Jester. And I mentioned at Jester that it's on the west side of Austin. Okay, here's downtown again. And it's right off of 360, right in this area here, Jester Estates. Notice it's still pretty close to the Colorado River, close to downtown. To get in, you would probably end up coming either up to the Arboretum, which is right here, a big shopping area, and then down 183 in Mopac. Or if you wanted to come the back way and the scenic way, this is 2222, and that's another way to get downtown. But that's the second house that I showed you, Jester. And then the third one, let me zoom back in here in South Austin a little bit. So right in here is Travis Country, and it's right off of Southwest Parkway right here. So this is Travis Country. This is the third house I showed you. And again, real quick, easy access downtown Austin, and then also real quick, easy access out to the airport here. This area right here, and you've got Travis Country, and this is also Barton Creek. If you've seen the country club and ever curious about where the country club was, let me zoom out a little bit. Barton Creek Country Club is right in here, resort and spa. This is kind of the Barton Creek area, and then Westlake and Rolling Hills or Rolling Wood is this area in here. So of a lot of high-end homes out in this area. And again, keep in mind, this is where the hill country kind of starts moving out through there. So as you drive out from Austin in through Westlake and then out to Bee Cave and Lakeway, this is where you're going to see the hill country, you know, the rolling hills, a lot of the views and things like that. Now, one other thing that I want to point out before I let you go here is at the end of that video, I showed you one of my favorite locations in Austin for a hike. Okay. And that location is right here. It's the Pennybacker Bridge overlook, and that hike goes down around this side of the river. So this is the famous Pennybacker Bridge. I'll see if I can get a photo of that thing to pop up, and as soon as you see it, you'll understand. There's the Pennybacker Bridge, and that hike again starts here at the Pennybacker Bridge and goes around. So great sunsets. You can go watch over there. You can go hike in the morning. You can get sunrises looking back this direction. And if you want to hang out late at night, you know, you can see downtown Austin, you can see the lights, and you can also do some great stargazing up here. And remember, this hike is about 150 feet above Lake Austin. Absolutely stunning. Again, one of my favorite locations in all of Austin. Okay, next major thing that I want to talk about is something that a lot of people don't necessarily think about when they're moving to Austin, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the school districts that you're going to find and how school districts work in Texas. So for the most part, your larger towns, you know, San Marcos, Lockhart, Bastrop, Dripping Springs, Johnson City, Marble Falls, all of these places, Georgetown, Leander, they're all going to have their own school district. Okay, so you'll see Hutto ISD, Taylor ISD, Bastrop ISD, Elgin ISD. Okay, Austin is going to have its own school district. It is a huge school district, guys. So when you're considering where you want your kids to potentially go to school, and I'm not going to get into. There's also a ton of private schools in Austin and around and in the smaller towns, but I'm just going to talk more generally about the school districts themselves. You know, the public school districts. So when you're considering a town, if you go to greatschools.org, you'll search by basically the town name. So it'll be Austin ISD, Bastrop ISD, Elgin ISD, and that's how you would decide, you know, if that's a good area for you to look for schools. Now, one major difference is if you see here with Kyle and Buda are going to be contained in what's called a consolidated district, and it's called Hayes Consolidated School District or Hayes Consolidated ISD. So if you're looking on the south side of town, you won't be able to find Buda ISD or Kyle ISD. It'll be Hayes Consolidated ISD. Now, going back to when you're dealing with the smaller towns, okay, you're going to be in smaller school districts. you're depending on the size of the town. Johnson City's small, Blanco's small. Those are going to be really, really small schools. You're going to be, probably in the 1A to 2A, possibly 3A, and that just talks about how many kids are in the high school, and that's how they set up for sports. So you're competing. The city or the school districts compete against other towns that have similar size schools, so that you're competing against the same number of kids and stuff like that. So those are going to be your smaller ones. Now, when you start looking at Austin, first of all, Austin has got, I believe it's 13 high schools. Now, most of those high schools are going to be either 4, 5, or 6A. So those are large high schools. And then when you get into some of the closer cities, Dripping Springs, for example, is a 6A high school. That's the largest high school in the state of Texas. Lakeway is Lake Travis ISD. That's a 6A high school. Westlake is right here. That's a 6A high school. Cedar Park has multiple 5 and 6A high schools. So does Round Rock, Leander. Georgetown's got 2 6A high schools. Bastrop, I believe, has got 2 5A high schools at this point. So you kind of get the idea. If you want a smaller school experience for your kids, you're going to be looking in the outlying areas: Marble Falls, Johnson City, Blanco, Taylor, Hutto, Liberty Hill, Lago Vista, right down in this area. Lago Vista is a little bit smaller. I think it's a 4A at this point. But if you want a smaller town experience for your kids, that's where you're going to be. If you want a larger, more diverse experience, you're going to be looking in the larger ISDs. You're going to be looking in Austin ISD, again, Dripping Springs, Westlake, Lake Travis, Cedar Park, Round Rock, Leander, Georgetown, Bastrop, those type of things. Okay. Likewise, if you want your kids to participate in a lot of activities, you're probably going to be looking for smaller schools for that to happen. I used to be a teacher. My wife was a teacher. We both taught in Austin ISD. And when you get into the large schools, kids and the parents tend to want them to try to specialize a little bit. I'm not going to throw my own personal thoughts or opinions into it, but that's just kind of what tends to happen in the larger schools. So if you want your kids to have a different experience, the experience to be involved in a lot of different clubs, a lot of different activities, maybe multiple sports, 3, 4, 5 sports, the way that I grew up, again, you're going to be, looking potentially in the outlying areas, smaller school districts. Not saying that they can't be more involved in these smaller, or in the larger districts in multiple sports, and they can, but it's just more common in those outlying areas. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit about getting outside, outdoors. I talk a lot about hiking and things like that, guys. I love the outdoors, and so this is really some of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm just going to mark a few of my favorite spots, and you can go back and look more into them on your own. Or if you've got questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me or put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer questions. If you are a lake person, I mean, it starts with downtown Austin. And I'll zoom in again here a little bit. So this lake that runs through downtown Austin, it used to be called Town Lake, and I still call it Town Lake, and anybody that's lived in Austin more than about 6 years calls it Town Lake. It is now called Lady Bird Lake. You can see here, and it's the hike and bike trail. Okay. But this is a constant level lake. It's fed by the Colorado River. And it's beautiful. There's a really nice boardwalk, and you can see great views here. You got up the boardwalk at Lady Bird Lake. You can see these amazing views of downtown. This place on pretty weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it is absolutely packed with people. People have stand-up paddle boards and kayaks out on the lake. I mean, this is the hub of Austin, and people come to Austin to get outside, and this is the hub of it, Lady Bird Lake or Town Lake. Now, going out from there, you can see the Colorado River here. There's a lot of stuff that you can do on the Colorado River. When I mentioned a while ago being up at the Pennybacker Overlook, okay, that's this area here, and it says the Colorado River, but right about here, there's a secondary dam, and from there up this way, it is known as Lake Austin. Okay, and from this dam down, it is known as Town Lake or Lady Bird Lake. Okay, so this is Lake Austin. Lake Austin is really, really popular with people who do skiing behind boats, knee boarding. I don't do a lot of this, sorry. So you got to kind of bear with me, but knee boarding, surfing behind boats, the wake surfing and all of that. Lady Bird Lake, or I'm sorry, Lake Austin is very, very popular. And Lake Austin comes all the way up here to to Loop 620. And I'll talk a little bit about that also. So this is all Lake Austin. And this, again, on pretty days, man, this thing is full of boats with people doing their thing on the back of boats. Also, great fishing. I've personally, from this part of Lake Austin, I've pulled 6 and 7 pound bass out of this area. I know people who've caught 12, 13 pound bass. Great fishing. Lake Austin also has really good fishing. It's gone down a little bit lately. I won't get into that, but again, whatever you want to do on water, there is a place to do it. Now, I mentioned this dam here. Above this dam, this water here is Lake Travis. Okay, Lake Travis is big. It's got two waterways that come into it. The Colorado River, you can see here, the Colorado River comes in from here. And then this is the Pedernales River that comes in here, but it's fed by 2 lakes. This is where Austin gets a vast majority, and the entire area gets a vast majority of their water. This is the beginning of technically the Highland Lakes chain, and this is where we get our water storage, a lot like Colorado does, and California. Most of our water comes out of above ground storage. Okay. Again, Lake Travis, beautiful, great for boating, great for skiing, great for, wakeboarding and all of that stuff, great for fishing as well. And that's where Lake Travis is. Okay. I'm going to back this out just a little bit more and give you a more of an overall of the area. Okay. So what we were just talking about, Lake Travis is right here. Okay, and then the Highland Lakes chain just continues up the Colorado River to here. So here at Marble Falls, we've got Lake Marble Falls. We've got Lake LBJ. We've got Inks Lake. And then up here, this big one here is Lake Buchanan. Now, if you're looking to purchase something on water, I would highly recommend the Inks, LBJ, Marble Falls, and then to a little bit lesser extent, Lake Austin. And I say lesser extent, it's a lot more expensive down here. But the reason I mentioned these, Inks, LBJ, and Marble Falls, is because these are constant level lakes. Okay, the water coming down from the Colorado River is constantly being released and it's stored. So if you've got a boat dock, it's only going to fluctuate about a foot or two during most times. Now, if we've got a huge drought like we had this year, it fluctuates a little bit more, but your water is going to be more constant level in this area. Lake Buchanan, it can drop quite a bit. And Lake Travis will drop quite a bit because they're draining that to release water for downstream. But this is the area that I personally would look for waterfront property if it were me. Now, just in terms of getting out, again, you've got a lot of good boating, a lot of good fishing and hiking in these areas. And then same thing down here. This is Canyon Lake. I mentioned it earlier, boating, fishing, hiking, and this is the Colorado River down here. And then this is the area that's really known for tubing. You've got the Colorado River, the Comal River. Colorado comes through here, Comal comes through here. San Marcos River starts in San Marcos and comes through, and this is also great tubing in this area. And then the Blanco River kind of winds down through here and joins the San Marcos River. And the Blanco River is also good for, not so much for tubing. People don't tube it as much, but they do get out and fish and swim and things like that on the Blanco River. So if you need to get on water, these are major rivers and really great areas for getting on water. If you want to get out and hike, some of my favorite hiking right up in here is a place called Reimer's Ranch. And Reimer's Ranch is on the Pedernales River. Remember, I mentioned the Pedernales River that comes up here into Lake Travis. Reimer's is on the Pedernales River. That is a great place to hike. You also have another really nice spot in here called Hamilton Pool. And that's a great little hiking area. You've got a lot of little hiking spots in and around Austin. I mentioned on the last video, there's a Violet Crown Trail that starts in downtown Austin and comes all the way out down to Buda. It's 20 something miles long, and it's great for bikes. It's great for hiking. It's great for running, and it's becoming really, really popular as they extend it down towards Buda. So really, really good area for hiking and biking. One of the other things that people really love to do out here, and it's you see it every weekend, is if you are a bike rider, this area through the hill country, and I'll just draw a giant circle. Actually, let me get rid of all of the water stuff. But this area out through the west side of Austin, out to Fredericksburg, Comfort, it looks like a huge area, but if you're a real bike enthusiast, you understand you can cover some ground. This area out here is where people ride their bikes. You've got the hill country, you've got old back roads, country roads that wind, and it is absolutely beautiful. So whether you're on a pedal bike, a lot of motorcycles hit this area. Eric and I'll just get out in our Jeep, take the tops off, and just go for a drive on a Sunday afternoon. And absolutely amazing, especially if you can time it with a sunset, because you get some beautiful sunsets in this area also. So just wanted to point out that even just going for a ride through the hill country, absolutely incredible. So to sum up, if there is something that you want to do outside, you can do it in Austin. If you can't find it in Austin, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit more, if you like to saltwater fish like I do, you are about 3.5 miles from this area down in here, the Texas coast, anywhere from, really Louisiana all the way south to Brownsville. You can fish everywhere down here. Redfish, drum, trout, flounder, if you can get offshore. There's even billfish fishing out here in the Gulf of Mexico. It takes a little bit to get to it, but if you're a fisher person, you can get out and fish. And then if you don't want to travel that far for fishing, obviously I've mentioned a lot of these areas in and around Austin, but one thing that I want to point out to you is this area between New Braunfels and Canyon Lake. You've got the rivers that come out of Canyon Lake. Texas Parks and Wildlife has started doing trout stocking, rainbow trout, and they started doing it quite a few years ago. But one of the interesting things about this area right here is when they started stocking trout in this run along the Guadalupe River, Canyon Lake is so deep and the water gets so cold at the bottom of it that when it comes out of the dam, the trout actually live year round, and they've started reproducing. So Texas now has its own reproducing population of rainbow trout in this run from the dam through what they call the horseshoe. This right here is known as the horseshoe. There's a reproducing population of trout in here, and you can fly fish. A lot of people fly fish this area. It's gotten very, very popular in recent years, and you can fly fish this whole area, and they release trout down through here. But this is we've got a native population now, and this is that area that they're found in. And actually, as I zoom in here, I'm going to point out one of my other favorite things. Whitewater Amphitheater is an outdoor music venue that is absolutely phenomenal. A lot of great acts, especially if you like country and Texas country, but there's even other acts that come through here. Willie Nelson, Sturgill Simpson, Tyler Childers have played there, just to name a few. So that's where Whitewater Amphitheater is. Okay, now in the next part of the video, and that's going to be coming out soon, I'm going to pay more attention to what you can buy in specific price points in Austin. I know I mentioned those three already, but I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into different price points. That's going to happen in the next video. And guys, if I mentioned it before, if you need to move to Austin, if you want to move to Austin, if you just want to explore moving to Austin, reach out to me, reach out to my team at the Dripping Springs Home Team. This is what we do. This is what we love doing. Putting people in a great situation to succeed, when they're moving to Austin. The last thing you want to do is move to an area, not really be sure about what you're doing, and then get yourself into a spot that you didn't really want to be. That's why you need to reach out to us, because we understand Austin like nobody else, and we love helping, we love educating. All right, see you in the next video. We'll talk to you soon.